All right, folks, it's time for your and my favorite podcast with Mike Burns, hot off the press. I was looking for a sound effect for this. Listen, I have one bottle of champagne in my house, and I was going to put, just for this show, but, anyway, the champagne has gone off already, and we got some news, some of it good, some of it not good, but Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Greg. Good to be back on my favorite podcast, Cut to the Chase. Also, your mom's favorite podcast. We know that.
That's right. That's right. And when I get on that little Zoom invite thing and I hit, I start to like hit any button, you're the first name that comes. Honest to God, you're the first name that comes up. And that brings me joy. Some people I'm like, yeah, I love you, but you're a little high maintenance. Not you. All right. So why are you here? I don't even know. I'm not even going to ask the question. What's going on? Talk to us.
Well, Greg, we're gonna start with the best news, and that's the news of the day, straight off the press in Tallahassee, Florida. The plaintiff, Guillermo Camarillo, just took 3M to task in a case where we got a verdict today, plaintiff's verdict for $13.1 million for our sergeant in the U.S. Army, $12.25 million in punitive damages, and just over $800,000 in compensatory damages. We had taken a couple setbacks in our last couple trials, two of them in Pensacola. Michelle Blum, great soldier, doing her job for the country, but 3M walked away with a verdict in there, a defense verdict. That was also a defense pick. And then just last week, Joe Palanke came back with a zero verdict in that particular case. But this case made it a lot better for all the plaintiffs out there. Right now, over 300,000 plaintiffs involved in the 3M litigation on the CAEV2s. And today, we pushed our record to 6-3 with an average of just over $3 million per case, even though we've lost 3 cases. If you break it down, we've taken 3M for a little over $29 million in the cases that we've gone to trial so far. So, and we're getting ready to go again. We got pre-trials tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Wednesday morning on Joseph Finley's case here in Tallahassee. And then we got 2 more cases, one in Pensacola, one in Tallahassee on December 6th. So no rest for the weary. And we're going to keep fighting for our American soldiers who have fought so hard for us. And it was really important to get this victory right after Veterans Day. We took a break, took Veterans Day off, came back and closed the next day. And now to get this victory on Monday for Guillermo, it's really a great thing.
All right. So Guillermo Camarillo, as someone from down south, my accent, I got sort of the Jewish Hispanic accent going down. I got that. I nailed that, by the time I was 14 years old. So Guillermo, tell us a little bit about Guillermo.
Man, what a great guy. I mean, came to the United States when he was 14 years old on a work visa with his parents. His parents used to come and his grandparents used to come and pick crops in Southern California. He was from Mexicali, a little city close to the California-Mexico border. He came to high school here, didn't speak English, learned to speak English in high school, enlisted in the military. And the great thing, 5 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he earned his U.S. citizenship and granted his U.S. citizenship for the service that he provided the United States military and the U.S. government as a soldier in the United States Army for over 21 years. Amazing story. Great guy, father, husband, great dad. His wife testified, what a great dad. He's not just a good dad. He's a great dad and great father to his kids, as well as a great husband.
It's a great story. It brings me joy, that this gentleman here is getting compensation. And, if it was me, I would be like, hey, I'm going to the Fiji Island, whatever. I'm going to take a couple days. But from what I understand, Guillermo's going right back. He's going right back to work tomorrow. 6
He's going right back. Greg, it's amazing. I know we chatted about this. We put him on a plane tonight at 6 o'clock out of Tallahassee. He's flying back to El Paso, Texas, to Fort Hood, and he's reporting to duty tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.
God love him. God
Amazing.
love them. God love them. All right, but I don't want to overlook the two other individuals that did not prevail. So give us a little bit about their story, and kind of tie in like how do you win one, you lose two, but you said the overall record is 6-3. So you've won six over the course of time, and not that you've won them, but the plaintiffs have prevailed in six, and the defendants have prevailed in three. How tell us about the other two that just recently did not prevail, soldiers that did not prevail, and then why, like, just give the audience a little bit of a take on how you win some and how you lose some.
Sure. And the three cases that we have not prevailed on, two of those were defense picks. That means the defense selected those cases for trial, and one of them was a random selection by the court. The two recent losses came with Michelle Blum. Michelle served 13 and a half years in the United States Army. She was the only woman that has gone to trial so far in this case. The jury loved Michelle. She was a great witness. She was a outstanding soldier, outstanding mom. She had a son that was autistic, and that's the reason she had to come back from Iraq and Afghanistan and take care of her 13-year-old son, who's now 27 years old, just had a birthday right about the time we had trial. Her case was a hearing loss tinnitus case. She had hearing loss ever since she was a child, conductive hearing loss with the tubes in her ear. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who are listening there. They know that their kids had tubes in their ears because they had sinus drainage and that. And so she had that the whole loss. So 3M was able to kind of maybe that was what caused her hearing loss versus her tinnitus. And so they were really confused with the audiograms and the way that the audiograms tracked her hearing loss, even though she had an audiogram that said that she had hearing loss and demonstrated the hearing loss, and she also claimed that she had tinnitus. We weren't able to provide specific causation in that case, that the earplug is what caused or created her hearing loss and tinnitus. Very similar situation with Joseph Palanke. Joe was in the Army for 20 years. He just retired recently, and it was very interesting with him is the Army offered him after 20 years if he wanted to become an officer or if he wanted a high-ranking civilian job, because he still holds his security clearance, and he was from Tennessee. Once again, he adopted his sister's son and raised him himself. The sister unfortunately had mental health issues, and so he raised that child himself, him and his wife, and they have two boys. Great case. Once again, very similar on the audiograms, showing maybe hearing loss, maybe not. He claimed tinnitus. 3M was trying to say that it was related to an accident that he had back in high school versus, his service. Jury was a little torn. Once again, they like the plaintiffs, they like our case, but it seems like it's really close on that hearing loss, tinnitus stuff. Very, very difficult to win those type of cases. We're going to have a meeting, and I expressed this to you on Wednesday, because you got to learn from your losses so that you can make sure and ensure that you win in the future. So we're going to break down the game film, see where we've been making our mistakes, and see what we can improve so that we can help these soldiers win these cases against 3M.
All right. So now, well, first, before we get to the next topic, audiogram. Just so our audience understands, what is the audiogram?
An audiogram is a hearing test where you get in a room and it tests your hearing. You hear these sounds and you press buttons to let the listener or the person administrating the test when you hear the sound. So it'll be a ringing sound, and you press the button, and so that's how they test your hearing at different frequency. 1,000, 2,000, all the way on up to maybe 8,000.
All right. So you've mentioned that you're already right. I mean, just had 3 trials in a couple of weeks. Now you got a bunch that are not only scheduled, but they're starting. And how many are set between now and April?
I want to say it's a total, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trials between now and April.
Okay, I want to put this into perspective. You mentioned 300,000 cases, 300,000 soldiers that are alleging hearing loss, tinnitus, combination, one or the other, right?
Correct, correct.
All right, so obviously at the pace that you're going, 300,000, you're talking about 50, 60 years, I don't even know. So how does
We
this
won't
like,
even go there, right?
we won't go there, yeah. So these, so if you are one of these 300,000 people, or maybe you actually were a soldier and you haven't gotten in the case and people are saying you should get in the case, just what are these victories? Do they have any significance to for all the other soldiers that have cases or might have cases?
That's a great question, Greg. And I think that the way to best answer that question is these cases are helping us, whether it's the bellwether cases or the cases that are just being recently filed, and the soldiers that are deciding, should I file a case or should I not file the case? What this is doing, I think it's pushing the cases towards the settlement process. Like I said, we have another case that starts in Tallahassee on November 30th, and then two more that start, one in Pensacola on December 6th, one again on December 6th in Tallahassee, a consolidated trial in January, and then other trials in February, March, and April. But what this does is I think it sets the bar, and it puts the pressure on the defendant 3M to come to the table. Judge Rogers has recently reached out to Magistrate Judge Mark Falk out of New Jersey, who recently retired, and has brought him in to assist the special master in settlement. And she is going to push this case to resolution, whether it's going to trial or it's settling with 3M over the long haul. I think today's verdict is very helpful in doing that by getting punitive damages. And one of the interesting things about this is this case was a Texas case. Even though it was tried in Florida, Texas law was applied. And what happened was we busted the punitive cap on these cases, in that we established that there was fraud in the execution of a document with the US government. And that busted the cap, which allowed for the punitive damages in this particular case. That's a huge point. That one of the next cases coming up is another Texas case. Finley is a Texas case that was going to have the same law apply in that particular case. So it just gives us an opportunity to keep putting the pressure on 3M by taking these cases to trial, getting as prepared as we can. And just like I said, we're going to watch the game film on Wednesday and look at these trials, look at what we're doing right, but more importantly, see where we've been making mistakes and try and correct those mistakes and fine tune this case so that we can help American soldiers and prevail against 3M on the long haul.
Now, as as a trial attorney, not every case has punitive damages. You've got to set forth a sufficient amount of evidence before the trial to convince the judge to let you even ask for punitive damages. Just give the audience a little bit of an explanation of what is punitive damages versus the compensatory. Let's start exactly with this case. Break down the verdict, how much for punitive damages, compensatory, and where do the punitive damages go? Does Sargaent Camarillo get all this money, or what's the story?
So it depends on the states. Certain states make that only a portion of the punitive damages goes to the client, a portion of it goes to the state. Punitive damages are just what they mean. Punitive means punish. So you're punishing the corporation, which is treated as a person, for their behavior so that they don't do it again. And that's what you do in this particular case. And the punitive damages side of the case, 3M was punished, or punitive damages, for $12,245,000. That's the number. Let me make sure. I'm going to check my phone.
Yeah, because I know your vision is not, your brain is working.
But I want to make sure I'm telling you the exact amount. So it was $12,245,000 in punitive damages.
Yeah.
Then it breaks down to compensatory damages, and that may be pain and suffering. That may mean future medical. That may mean lost wages in a particular case. And in this particular case, that number was $816,345. 3M was found 100% liable for the damages. our Sergeant C, was found 0% liable for the damage. The U.S. Army, 0% liable. So 3M was completely responsible for Sergeant C's injuries in this particular case.
Will the state of Texas participate in the recovery of that $12+ million punitive damage award, assuming that if it does get appealed or whatever, that the appeal doesn't go anywhere?
I can tell you what, Judge Walker's going to give everybody who wants to participate an opportunity, because he said today, I don't see any reason why I'm not filing this judgment. And I'm filing it today. So he filed the judgment in the case later this afternoon. And when I get a copy of the verdict, I'll make sure I send it to you so you can see it and maybe post it so that all our watchers and listeners out there can get a firsthand look at the actual verdict form in this particular case. And
just a personal question: when you go to sleep, and I know you have like probably an 80-inch TV in your room or whatever, you just like take this verdict and you blow it up and you put it on the TV. You don't even watch TV. You're just staring at that thing until you nod off, right?
Well, I might turn on some Monday Night Football. I don't know. I can't even tell you who's playing tonight, but I did, do the things that you probably do. It's just like you do. One of the first things I did was I called my wife and I sent her a text message, and it's like she didn't respond. So I said, like, honey, where are you? And then of course, oh yeah, she was really excited. And so and it's great. You want to share it with your loved ones. I want to share it with you because we're such good friends, and you do such a great job of getting the information out to prospective clients, our clients, and your viewers here at Cut to the Chase. And it's just great. Yeah, I mean, you and I communicate all the time, but we don't get to communicate like this. And for others to see this and see really what's going on. And I really appreciate you taking time to do this, to show it to all the viewers.
All right. So Wednesday, you're going to, like, in your own words, you're going to get back together with the team, strategize, why'd we lose, why'd we win. I'm looking at it. You're 6-3. You're right now. It looks like you're going to the playoffs.
That's right. And we don't want to go to the playoffs. We want to win the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. You got to get a little momentum going. All right. But I think that the things are looking good for you. All right. So, all right, we're going to end it with this deadline. Let's say you're a soldier. You're like, wow, my ears are ringing. My my husband is complaining that I can't hear him. I haven't taken this audiogram, but maybe I should, or I guess they probably already have if they were discharged, right? They probably already know this. So is there a deadline? Did they miss the deadline? Can they still join this case if they want to?
Well, a good friend of mine, it's an excellent trial lawyer. He always puts his story out there. He says, when's the best time to plant a tree? And he'll go 20 years ago. When's the next best time to plant a tree? Today. So the best thing to do is don't miss any deadlines. There aren't any deadlines, but at some point there will be a line drawn in the sand and there won't be any more cases. Reach out to lawyers like Greg, myself, whomever. Reach out to a lawyer that's involved in the 3M combat arms litigation and let us help you and let us try and recover for you in this particular case, in this multi-district litigation. There's not a deadline right now, but come on and let us help you, because that's what we're here to do, is help you against, this major corporation who's injured our soldiers.
All right. So that's going to be it for this episode of Cut to the Chase. All right. Listen, lucky number 13 million. I'm just rounding this into whole. That's the latest verdict. And you know what? You're only as good as your last putt, is what I like to say. And so that was a good putt there, Mike Burns.
That's a way to drain it, Greg.
From the Mosen Law Firm. And congratulations to Sargaent Guillermo, who's on a plane to El Paso. And let's keep.
Let me give a shout out to the trial team: Tom Pirtle, Jen Hoekstra, and Paul Pennick. They did a great job. So I wanted to make sure I didn't forget those guys.
All right, you're working Jen pretty hard. I want you and keep hearing her name. All right,
that Jen is something else.
All right, Michael, be well.
See you, my friend.
Okay.